Good afternoon, everybody. It is Tuesday. That means it's Pharus Global live at 5 time. This is Brian Hartman. I am one of the partners of Pharus Global. You can see everything that we do at pharusglobal.com. We do everything from financial management and bookkeeping to marketing to IT services, home mortgages, commercial and residential real estate. We do medical practice management, billing and coding and credentialing. We do insurance services, both personal and commercial. You name it, we basically have it in our ecosystem. We're here headquartered at Ferris Plaza, 1859 Southeast Port St. Lucie Boulevard. Feel free to stop in. We usually have some good coffee and even an occasional donut every now and then. So today is episode number 38, and we are kind of making circling back, and we are bringing back one very important speaker and guest, and his name is John Lewis. And today, he is back. We're excited to have him back, and looking forward to it. If you guys have any questions, comments, just want to say hi, please put them into the comments, whether you're on LinkedIn or YouTube or Twitter or Facebook. We'll be happy to answer those questions. Today, we're going to be talking about big company benefits for small companies are possible through Healthcare Buyers Club. And without further ado, let's welcome the founder of Healthcare Buyers Club, Mr. John Lewis.
Hi, Brian.
Hey, John, how are you doing today?
Good. First of all, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure, and happy to have you back, because unfortunately we left you hanging out there in the dark the last time a couple of weeks ago. So hopefully we get through with no issues on the internet. Let's knock wood on that one. So glad to have you back. I know that there were a lot of people interested in the show the last time, so hopefully they'll be watching and checking it out again. If you wouldn't mind, tell us, how did Healthcare Buyers Club get started, and where did you come from to get all the way to this point?
Sure. Well, I'm originally from Texas. Spent most of my career in banking and finance. I actually ran a couple of small financial institutions there, but then I also ran a very large real estate group in Texas. And one of the things that I found out is that I got more enjoyment out of making $100,000 to $200,000 loan to a small business owner than I did a $20 or $30 million real estate loan. And so I've always had this passion for helping small businesses.
Yep.
And we moved over to Austin, and a friend of mine asked me to get involved in a couple of startups over there. One was a fintech startup, and the other one was a healthcare startup. And I worked with them as a sort of a director of strategic initiatives for about 3 years. And then we found out that our daughter, who was living in Boston, she married a guy from Sarasota, and that we were going to have our first grandchild. Well, so happens that my son and his wife were in Austin, and we told them, hey, sorry, we're going to Sarasota.
Nice.
We're not going to pass up meeting to be able to with our first grandchild. So that's how we wound up in Sarasota, and we love being here. Of course, that's across the state from where you are.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really a nice, vibrant place to be. And so when I moved here, based on what I'd learned in this fintech and the healthcare startup, and my passion for helping small businesses, I said there has just got to be a better way for their small businesses and their employees to access better quality, lower cost healthcare. So I spent the last couple of years putting together a business model that it looks like we're actually going to be able to have an impact and make that happen. It hasn't been easy, but we're very social mission oriented. What Healthcare Buyers Club does is that we're going to build direct pay local healthcare delivery ecosystems, primarily for the benefit of very small companies and mainly less than 10 employees and self-employed individuals, their families. And then what we're going to do is that we're going to enable them with the tools and the resources that we've put together to be able to pay cash at the date of service for healthcare services. And I'm sure a lot of people have experienced the incredible discounts that you can get when you're able to pay cash at the date of service.
Sure.
And so we're starting our first ecosystem here in Sarasota. And so that's, we can go into more details on the business model and how that works, but that's kind of the background on how we got started here.
It's awesome, John. So this is really gonna go hand in hand with what we do as our mission with Pharus Global, helping businesses grow and eventually, if they're interested, prepare them for the exit. If they're looking to eventually sell the business, it'd be nice to be able to sell the business with a buyer coming in and knowing that there's affordable benefits that they can offer to their employees, right?
Exactly.
It's become so expensive out there. It's hard for businesses to be able to compete in the market.
Well, and you know how tough the market is right now to either retain or hire new employees. And the exit example is a great one, because when somebody comes in and wants to buy the business, if they have employees that are happy and they're reasonably well compensated and they have some good healthcare benefits, that makes the business all the more saleable. So it fits perfectly with what Pharus's mission is.
That's awesome. So I know you mentioned the social mission. What is the approach to accomplishing the social mission of Healthcare Buyers Club? What is it and how are you approaching it?
Okay, so what we're going to do when we build an ecosystem, and our first one's going to be here in Sarasota, we put together a community of primary care providers, and we're really focused on those primary care providers that are independent and have the ability to not only be their patients' health and wellness advocate, but also to be their cost containment advocate. And you might be surprised at the number of independent physicians that have kind of already gone down that path. A lot of them are trying to set up a business model for their practice. It's called direct primary care, where they work with patients on a membership type basis, and they have the ability, but also the mission to control costs for those patients. So that's the kind of independent primary care physicians that we're looking for. And then we're looking also for specialty care, high quality specialty care providers that are contractually free to accept patients that pay cash at the date of service. And so if they can do that, just as a simple example, my wife needed some work done on her knee and looked at, and my son-in-law happened to know one of the top orthopedic providers here, doctors here in Sarasota. And so she went in and we paid cash for it. And the visit with one of the top guys was only $75, and that included an x-ray. And it would have been $150, $250. I mean, it's just, so we'll be putting this ecosystem together of primary care providers, specialty care providers, but then also specialty care services like imaging, where they can do MRIs and mammograms and that sort of thing. And people would just be amazed at what they can do if they pay cash. And then also, we're going to take it all the way down what we call the healthcare delivery value chain, where we'll get in with the urgent care centers and then even the outpatient surgery centers and the hospitals eventually. One of our partners is the former CEO of a couple of HCA hospitals, and he thinks our social mission just has tremendous opportunities and value. And so he's been very active on the hospital side of trying to get them to understand the benefits of participating with our particular program. So it's like the whole ecosystem is being set up and created. And then when we as the ecosystem grows and the community grows, then it's going to make it more convenient and easier for the employees and self-employed individuals and their families to access that. And then what we're doing is we're layering on top of that our financial tools and resources that enable even the low wage earners to be able to pay cash for their services. And that's really what a lot of people don't understand is the very largest companies that are out there, they self-insure and they have the resources. And so there's a real trend among these very large companies where they're going in and doing direct contract negotiating with the various providers. And that's the way they're really trying to bend that cost curve. And so what we've done is taken the same strategies and tools and resources that these very large self-insured companies are doing, and we're making those available to the smallest company that's out there, including self-employed individuals.
That's awesome. It almost sounds like, I know you can't make any guarantees, but it sounds like patients potentially can save upwards of 25% what they would normally have to pay through normal channels when they go to the doctor. So that in and of itself is amazing. Question for you. You mentioned self-employed individuals. So this can help self-employed individuals as well as business owners?
Absolutely. There's a lot of successful small self-employed or small company self-employed individuals that are out there, attorneys and real estate agents and independent sales agents that are successful. And if they have to go to the exchange and they don't qualify for the subsidies, which a large number of them won't, they've been paying $1,500 to $2,500 a month. They have like a $8,000 deductible or a $15,000 to $20,000 out of pocket. If they participate in this program and take advantage of the various tools and resources that we put in place, they could have incredible coverage for less than $1,000 a month. And so not everybody may be able to get comfortable with that, but once they understand how the program works and the fact that this is what the big large companies are doing to bring down their cost of healthcare, then they're able to do that also.
That's fantastic. I bet a lot of realtors just perked up when you were giving out that information. Before we continue, John, just to remind everybody, if you do have any questions for John or comments or just want to say hi, drop them in the comments wherever you're watching this from, whether it's Facebook or LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. We'll be happy to answer those questions or just say hi back. Christina Miller loved the show. Thank you for that. That's my girlfriend. So she's always watching, which is
Thanks,
awesome. Appreciate that. So small business owners interested in your program, how would they go about working with you and vice versa? How does the process go?
Well, I can give you a real example that I just met with the owner of a franchise-based restaurant, and their corporate gives them zero support for healthcare benefits. And they have maybe 20 part-time workers, which is typical of a restaurant, and then they have 5 or 10 full-time, like the head chef and the manager, assistant managers, and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And they just can't afford to pay the group healthcare. And so, especially with his margins are typically pretty tight on a restaurant, but they also know that they're losing employees to some of the larger chains that can pay healthcare benefits. And they just didn't think it was possible to implement a healthcare benefit program that was affordable. And so I'm kind of taking my banker approach with them. I'll sit down and go through with them, what their margins are and how much they can afford to pay. But one of the things that we emphasize is that one of the best business development activities that you can engage in as a business owner is doing a good job on whatever service or goods or products or services that you deliver on. Because if you do a good job, then you're going to get a lot of business from referrals. And I think everybody kind of recognizes that that's the best, most profitable business that you can do. So I try and at least get them to think about the perspective that having good employees is really one of your best dollars spent from a marketing or business development perspective. And so what we're trying to do, and then also what is an example like a company that has a lot of part-time or even their regular employees, is that the vast majority of those employees come from people that have worked there and have recommended a friend or an acquaintance that they know to come work there.
Sure.
And so what we talked about is even with the part-time employees, if they're able to create a meaningful healthcare benefit program for the part-time employees, then when they're out there talking to their friends, they're going to say, whoa, I went to work part-time. I wasn't expecting healthcare benefits. We got them, and they really are meaningful and help cover the cost of our healthcare. And so then that spreads the word of mouth, and so it makes it easier to recruit and retain employees. And so then what I do when I sit down with the business owner, we just work through the budget and say, what is the amount that you can afford? And then we have the flexibility and the customizability of the program so that in almost every case that we can create a meaningful healthcare benefit program that meets or exceeds what their competition is doing. And every business is different. Like a small landscape company, their competitors are other small landscape companies, so they may pay hourly wage, and most of them won't do any kind of healthcare benefits at all. So you could come in there with one of our lower cost programs and still be ahead of your competition when it comes to trying to recruit or retain employees. So it's very customizable, and I know that it's gonna a lot of companies that are creating these solutions in the healthcare space are going after the large employers, 1,000 plus, 500 plus, because it's not easy to scale when you're doing it kind of one-on-one. But that's what we're going to take this next year doing, is we're going to figure out, and we've got a lot of really smart people that are working with us that really believe in our social mission. We know Pharus believes in our social mission, provide the support. So we'll figure out, technology will enable us to scale in a highly decentralized market once we really figure out what the technology is that's needed to make that happen. So I'm not concerned about the amount of time it takes. We just want to make sure that we're helping as many small businesses offer meaningful healthcare benefits to their employees, in both full and part-time.
It's awesome. I love it. So this can work both for startup companies that are just beginning,
Absolutely.
as well as any existing businesses that may not be offering it, or even existing businesses that are offering healthcare benefits but want to see if they can save money by offering.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic. So then anybody that's out there that would like a second opinion of what they're currently offering would be an ideal referral?
Sure. And it's easy to get a hold of me. I'm available all the time, evenings and weekends, even, as you know. And so when you're involved in a startup, that's what you have to do. So I'm always available for a call or video call, whatever, to kind of talk about the circumstance and figure out if there's a way to make something happen.
Even those employees out there that may not be receiving benefits that would like to, mention it to your employer, and call John, have them call John and get on the horn and see if we can get it done, right?
Yeah, that'd be great. That's what we're trying to do now that we've launched. We're just trying to get the word out, let people know that there are possible ways to approach this and provide meaningful, valuable healthcare benefits to their employees.
Yeah, definitely important. And especially in a market right now, that's all you hear about is that they can't find good help. And I'm sure that if they were able to show potential employees that they're offering good benefits or an opportunity for them to get benefits, certainly can help the process of recruiting more employees for their company.
Yeah, and that's also what we do. There's a couple of other things that are kind of important. Is that we help tell the story of what that employer is actually doing for the employee and how valuable it is. I mean, even if they go and they provide the basic healthcare program, which is where they help with the cash flow protection part of the program, and that employee is maybe a lower wage earner, and they go to the exchange and they get one of those zero or low dollar monthly premium catastrophic coverage programs that they can get on the exchange. They're still looking at a $6,000 or $8,000 deductible. I mean, it may be zero, but if there's anything significant that happens, they're basically uninsured because they just can't afford that. Well, if the employer is providing that resource for them, and most of our programs enable them to do that, that's incredibly valuable for an employee that's making $15, $20 an hour. Mm-hmm. So they can not only take advantage of the exchange and how low those premiums are because of the substantial credits that they're getting this year, but then they can also know that they're going to have resources in place that if something does happen, that they're not going to be sitting there faced with a $5,000, $6,000, $8,000 bill. So it in the social impact of this, enabling people to get healthcare, have healthcare needs available when it's needed. The long-term impact of that, it just brings down the cost of healthcare in the long run. People are healthier, they're going to live longer, and so enabling this for that lower wage earner is really just an incredibly significant social impact.
So one thing I just thought of, maybe good referral sources for you could be joint efforts with recruiting companies that want to get in the door with some business owners out there. If they could, in addition to their normal recruiting, bring you to the table and say, hey, we partnered with this company that can help you save money. It might win them the job as well, right?
Absolutely. There's a lot of strategic partners out there like that. And one of the things that I've always believed in is one of your best business development activities is to partner with non-competing companies, but that are going after the same vertical. And It just makes all kinds of sense to do that. So we're open to any kind of strategic relationship where we can have a mutually beneficial circumstance.
That's awesome. That's great. So where is your program currently available, John?
Well, we're launching our initial ecosystem in Sarasota, but we organize things so that we can be in probably 20 states today with this program, and like Texas and Georgia and North Carolina and Ohio. Those are kind of some of the markets that we're looking at initially, and how we kind of want to go into those markets and ecosystems. We want to find a local independent agent that really believes in our social mission, and then we can help start up that ecosystem. And even if it's just one person that has a lot of connections with a lot of small to mid-sized businesses, that would be enough for us to get started, because we have the tools and the resources to immediately stand something up in one of those other ecosystems.
That's great. Love it. So we covered a lot of territory in a quick period of time here, John, but before we wrap it up, is there anything that we may not have touched on that you wanted to add?
No, I very, very much appreciate spreading the word. talk about the social mission, let people know there are solutions out there that can work, that will take the time to work with them to understand what they can actually afford to do. And we're excited about working with anybody that would like to try and help their employees.
That's great. And just so everybody knows, this episode will continue to appear on news feeds on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and YouTube. So if you have anybody that even remotely might be interested, feel free to forward this video, this show to them, and John will be happy to connect with them as well. John, I appreciate having you on. Thank you for being here. A lot of great information. We just got to create the awareness out there would be fantastic.
Well, thanks, Brian. I really appreciate being able to tell the story.
Absolutely. And if anybody would like to be the next guest on the Pharus Global Live at 5, we are here every Tuesday night at 5 p.m., barring any internet issues like we had 2 weeks ago. But feel free to reach out. And pharusglobal.com, you can find our information there, helping businesses grow and eventually reach their exit with the exit planning strategy along the way. So, John, thank you again. Have a great night. I'm sure I'll be talking to you, but if just in case, have a fantastic holiday season.
You too. Okay. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it very much.
Have a great night, everybody, and we will talk to you next week.